Fuck me. We're recording. We were already recording. It's take two. It's the it's the one time ever we've bothered to save you from even worse bullshit at the beginning. Just take until episode 32. And it's still going to be 7-8 minutes of stupidity, I think is what somebody said.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it going, boys?
Yeah, good, man. Cruising. What about you?
And we're coming off of the decline. That was the last one, which will have been out in the world to marinate for a while.
Yeah.
It didn't go as well as a no effects show, and that's really saying something. I feel like that's not a super high bar. Man.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of assholes that said they were coming and then showed up. No, didn't show up. I guess that's the problem. They said, well, it was like a little bit late where I was. It was fucking late on the schedule anyway, wasn't it? We didn't sneak up on anybody. So look, I'm a little disappointed in our 7 listeners. I think we only had how many were on? Probably all 7.
Probably all 7, and some friends, and some invites just to pack out the session.
We stacked the crowd.
Family, friends, co-workers.
Yeah, it was at least like 33% Forge Works.
Well,
isn't it always?
Well, the podcast
they're stealing everybody's business.
The podcast is always 33% Forge Works.
That's true, actually. You just had to like make it proportional.
I think if we're honest, it's probably 48% and another 48% Magpie, and then Ron was late. Ron was late to the last one.
That leaves like 4% for Josh, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Especially if we're talking about effort.
Ron, what you been up to?
I don't know, man. Not much. Just working away. Still employed. Yeah.
Despite our best efforts.
I got the Dead Kennedys behind me today.
Fuck.
My boss is a big Dead Kennedys fan, and so I was like, "Yeah, I haven't listened to those guys in a while." So
Nazi punks, fuck off, man! Amazing.
The fuck off, absolutely
amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Jello.
Yeah. What about you?
You know what? Here I am, just sitting here. Just got back from Banff. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Energy Safety. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Energy Safety Canada.
Did you change the world? Did you were they crying when you were done talking?
Big burly men crying like Trump. I don't think they were. I hope they weren't crying. It was great. Really cool people. Yep. Yeah. Despite me being there was some really excellent presentations.
Yeah.
Really cool crowd. I mean, it was almost 1,000 people. I think that's
cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid increase, I think, for them.
You look at you putting the asses in the seats.
I don't think that was it.
Did Magpie did Magpie host a little event down at Magpie and Stump?
No. But now that you mention it, sounds like a great idea.
It's a perfect
idea.
Maybe next time. Nachos.
Maybe next time.
Mexican beer.
I did go to Magpie and Stump, which is a place you should go. But if Gord lets me back, we'll call it 7 or 8 years from now, we'll do one.
We'll do it again. Perfect.
Yeah.
Who have you got behind
you? What you doing, Dave?
Benjamin.
Oh, fuck. It's propaganda again. I had to throw them up again. They've got a new album and they were going to do a tour and they had all these dates in the U.S. And now they've punished us here in the U.S. for bad behavior.
I saw that. Sorry, folks.
They just said
we've had to cancel our shows.
Yeah. Unforeseen circumstances.
Which means speak to your government.
Yeah.
So since they're not going to be here in real life, which I'm a little bummed about.
That's a
I like
shame.
those guys.
Yeah.
Throw a picture of them up.
David, what you got going on there, buddy?
Just hanging down under. Haven't even traveled much recently. Plenty of work, but nothing super exciting.
He had to throw that part in. Plenty of work. I don't know.
Yeah.
just
Ben felt
just
personally attacked.
just locking the doors. Just stop people beating down the doors
That's it.
Okay.
everywhere.
Leave a little something for us little people.
US, Canada, Europe, just
Everywhere. Definitely not Australia, though. Just
Definitely.
everywhere else.
definitely not
Yeah.
Australia. But no, yeah, bit of travel coming up in the next few months, but no, nothing super new and exciting. No new tattoos yet.
Mhm.
Oh, just booked an appointment.
Yeah.
Really? When
Oh,
for?
I got to figure it out. I had to cancel because of travel. I don't have a real job like Ron, but there's some travel, so we got to move it around. But it's Kathy, my lovely bride, who definitely does not listen to our podcast. It's our 25th anniversary tomorrow, so we're gonna go get
Holy
tattoos.
moly.
Yeah.
So
Happy anniversary.
PR punk rock safety tattoo to commemorate the.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, forehead.
Mm.
My neck is okay. Don't.
Why not both?
Yeah.
It's aggressive.
Yeah.
Different
Like that-
one for each.
Like that roasting of Mike Tyson. Why do you have a tramp stamp on your face?
Perfect.
No, that's fantastic.
So no
we
prizes,
have
no prizes for guessing who's behind me, but I almost had the Dead Kennedys as well, Ron. It was a
Aw.
last minute kind of I'll go Black Flag. Slightly better live photo so that I could find. So,
Nice. Very nice. Love it.
that was the don't tell Black Flag, but like the very first punk rock safety shirt. Ron's got one.
I do. I do have one.
Was the Black Flag
it's cool.
symbol.
Yeah.
I think this is their
It's old school.
2020. I think this is a photo from their 2023 tour. So
No
Oh,
Henry Rollins. Yes, Henry Rollins.
move your head.
Oh, who's back there?
Maybe.
I don't know, can't see that.
If
far
you looked
away.
Henry Rollins adjacent, it's at least a stunt.
That's
It's at
close
least a
enough.
stunt double.
Is he shouting at us about something? Because that's
he's
probably-
shouting at me to get out the fucking way. So
Yeah. Well, boys, we planned ahead 0 like usual. But for our 7 listeners, Ron remembered that we asked for ideas and that there might be some.
or one, at least one.
At least no, I think there's more than one. I just picked
There's
the
more
first
than one.
I
Okay.
picked the first one I could find. But Ron could probably recap it better than I blacked out a little bit there.
What was the
The question was,
What do you want from me?
no,
the
the
guy's
question,
name?
I think the context was kind of like, how do you go about trying to maybe introduce or convince your organization on some of the more contemporary ideas when your organization is deeply rooted in zero harm and, well, I think that's kind of it.
Or yeah.
And rooted.
I think the idea is. I think the idea is like, how do you do some punk rock shit in a Backstreet Boys organization?
Yes.
But look, I mean,
Tell
all
me
joking
why.
aside, because I really want to be serious about it. But it's that cookie cutter approach, right? Wash, rinse, repeat, boy band production kind of stuff, and everybody's just doing the same shit. And I think the legitimate question was, cool. Nobody wants to hear anything different. So how do I do it? So Ron's got this solved. Ron's
No,
the only one of us with a real job. I feel like
yeah, this is
should
true.
start there. Yeah.
Someone's got to pay the bills. While you guys are fucking around. Ben snowboarding,
Just
Dave
traveling. Plenty
doing,
plenty of work, Dave said.
watching basketball apparently all the time. No, so first of all, I guess one of the things that you hear a lot of people talk about, and I think we've talked about this before, but it's related to this topic. When you talk about like change in an organization, is like, well, if you don't have your leadership on board, nothing's going to change. And I don't know that that's true, and I'd be curious what you guys think. I
I
think
don't
that's not correct, actually.
I'm with you. Although maybe not full tilt boogie. I think
Yeah.
I think at some point leaders, if they're not on board, can fuck you. Like they can shut a lot of this stuff down. But I don't think you have to start there, man. I think it can be kind of underground stuff. And we were not to point out that I was in Banff again. You guys have heard of it, right? Energy Safety Canada is a nice place. But
Is that in the US?
one of the things are it's not,
Not
but
yet.
they let me go soon. Soon. But we were talking about in a session this sort of sense that because it can feel like a really different way of thinking, you have to do it all at once. And I think you get super frustrated. Leaders get super frustrated that way. And you don't have to go in and burn everybody's shitty boy band records, man. You just got to introduce something that, and maybe we start. Dave likes Blink 182, that's a little sort of soft pop punk. We can ease them in.
Easy. What are you easing in?
But I think it's about sort of picking that one thing that when you get to your leaders and you get a little bit of time that you can have a conversation about that doesn't seem crazy. Like it's so different.
Yeah. I think
like fuck you and your TRIR is probably a bad lead in.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to go too hard at it. Like you want to help. You want to
ease it in.
Well, you don't want to tell people their baby's ugly, right? Like, I mean, that's not a great starting point for getting kind of an open conversation happening and people sort of, broadening their perspective. And I also think with zero harm, it's kind of not what you're trying to achieve. It's how you think is the way to get there. And so zero harm, like it's
fucking lover of zero here.
Well, I sort of think it's a bit like it's not that inspiring to me because it's a little bit like a CEO standing up in front of the organization saying, okay, our big goal for next year is like don't go broke. And I kind of feel like zero harm's the same because like he's like, oh, our goal for the next year is we're going to hurt no one. And it's like, all right, cool. Tell me something that I kind of like. Of course, that's what we're trying to do. Like,
you hope.
Of course, like it's not like, hey, all right, let's go kill.
Everybody goes home. No fucking way, huh?
Kill 10 people and rock and roll. Fuck safety, make
I brought
money.
Sleeping bags.
Fuck safety, make money. So, but then
I did wear the shirt.
Excellent. Yeah, I heard.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday. It's not a Monday shirt. It's a Thursday.
I think it's how, right? It's like how, and I guess we'll get into a little bit of that. But I think, not. I don't know if it's that constructive for a health and safety person to come out and say, "Well, that's not my aspiration." Like I don't know if that's helpful, right? I think it's like, yeah, well, of course, that's all of our aspiration.
I think that it's not helpful.
So, but I think some people come out and say it, like they say recordable injury rates, like you'd started this conversation, man, like fuck you and your TRI. It's like, so it's okay to hurt people, and then you just end up in this conversation that doesn't need to happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that was weird. Did you hear that? Anyway,
There's
sorry.
more than one Ron.
Yeah.
More Ron.
Well, I got to
So
make
much
up
Ron.
for the 2% or whatever I have in work. I'm just
I
trying
think it
to
was 0.
trying to expand my productivity. Um,
I
but
just doubled my productivity.
so there's got to be a place though where you can present a dissenting voice, right? Like there's got to be a place where you can disagree in your organization. And to me, like if I was in a situation where like I literally like, okay, one of the, I think to your point, Dave, there's you can't just like always first thing in your mind, well, that's fucking bullshit. Like you can't just
I mean, you
throw
can.
that out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you can. You probably won't be
You
gainfully
just have to
employed
be
for
a
too long.
consultant. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But like I think also that doesn't mean that you always have to hold it in. I think it like if I was in a situation like that where I felt like, okay, there's not like we're moving in a direction I don't believe in, I would start I would start looking for, okay, where is it appropriate for me to like, hey, boss, like, can we have a quick conversation? I have some thoughts. What would
Your
be the right
your baby's ugly.
yeah. Well, like, and you could even have like a meta conversation where it's like, what is the right venue to share concerns I have with our overall direction? Like what if someone had some concerns, if someone had some, alternative viewpoints, what would be the right way to go about sharing those views? Like having that conversation and like I think with that kind of way, I mean, your boss isn't going to be like, well, you're a fucking asshole for even bringing up that you would disagree with me. Like that's, I think that's one way to start the process of opening people up to the idea, okay, there can be other viewpoints. And yeah, this is probably something we do need to be intentional about, building that psychological safety to use a buzzword. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I think
It's fucking
I
brilliant.
think
That's what you think.
I'm just stunned into silence here. Look, it's
I just
this
think you should
whole
put it back in.
this hold it in is what
Hold
Ron
it
said.
in. Hold it in.
You don't
can't
have to hold it in.
anymore.
Is what he
You're on a
said,
podcast, man.
You hold it too long and it stings. Anyways, go ahead.
Sorry, Ben.
We-
Ron rudely
We've
interrupted you.
said we've said this before, sort of, is you make this stuff all about safety with senior leaders and you sound like a fucking weirdo, man. And so I think, they're used to some of these things. It's what they've seen. I don't think you have to just take that all away. I think you have to say, hey, I think we're trying to answer a couple of questions with this. Do I have I got that right? Is this the sort of stuff you want to know? And if I tried something else, would you take a look at it? See if it helps reduce some of the uncertainty that you're trying to get rid of, or does it answer the question better? Can you make a decision with it better? And if you think that's a cool metric, then maybe we can get rid of this other one that wasn't so great. I think you got to earn your turns, man. And
Yeah.
not to keep coming back to the punk rock analogy, but it is fucking punk rock safety, isn't it? Is like, hey man, I'm gonna play this record for you. Tell me what you think. And if somebody hates it, man, move on. But before we start kicking everything over, I think it's just kind of those little conversations about, I want you to check this thing out.
When I think what you're doing there is you're really making it, you're like lowering the bar, right? Because you're not asking them to completely step away from something that they've said, no, this is the direction we're going.
Yeah,
They're all in
exactly.
on it. You know what I mean? You're not like you're making it really easy for them to be like, yeah, okay, let's try that. Like the cost of trying, this new thing that you're doing. Yeah, I mean, in theory, maybe in a perfect world, it wouldn't be that difficult to like admit you're wrong and do something different. But that's not the world we live in. Like, especially for leaders when they've put something out there in the world for them to come around and be like, actually, yeah, that was dumb. We're going to do this other thing. That's not really as simple as it sounds. And so, just being like, hey, could we try some new stuff? And if we did, what would that look like? And, how could I present that to you? And would you be willing to, you know, hear me out? I think that makes a ton of sense.
Well, I'm done then.
Yeah.
Well, fuck
Well,
yeah. Well,
I think the
Whoa.
dissenting voice piece is kind of interesting, and I think it can be really hard to have these principle level conversations because on some level, sort of like who fucking cares? Like it's not kind of, like if it's zero harm or it's not zero harm or it's the five fucking hot principles or something like, I'm that's all kind of like lazy conversation to me at that senior level, right? Because it's just like
Just don't be so fucking lazy.
my principles better than your principles. My dick's bigger than yours. Like it's just like it's hard to have these sort of abstract principle level conversations and disagreements. It's more like the conversation I'd be having with those people is okay, zero harm, not hurting people. How do you think we best achieve that? Because we're not there now. And I've got some ideas about things that I think we can add to, what we're currently doing in this space that I think might help us get further down the road to, where we want to be, and make it kind of like an additive conversation and sort of talk a little bit more in the details. Because at that principle level, if they're saying, so if it's zero harm and it's not zero harm, what does that mean for what's actually going to change in my organization? And then you bring into play a whole bunch of fears for leaders in organizations. And we've all seen that sort of play out in the zero harm. So if we now say that harm is okay, because that's the alternative to saying harm's not okay, what's the chaos gonna be like in our organization, right?
I mean, a little bit of harm.
There's a YouTube video of a certain tier one presenting at a conference where one of the audience members stands up and says, so you're telling us now we should all go back into our organization tomorrow and tell all of our workers that it's okay to hurt people. Like that was the message that leader heard when the anti-zero harm comment came up. And that's what I was sort of saying, like that's the whole baby's ugly thing, right? Like if you're talking at that level and that sort of dissent, I think it's a really hard piece to resolve.
Well, to me, I think that gets it like the one step in this sort of to answer this question is like, okay, figure out where you can bring this stuff up. Where can you be subversive? But then the next step or another step in this is like, what can you be subversive about, or what does it make sense to? Because I think you're right. Like, I think sometimes we fight battles that are just dumb. like that you're just there was a guy in my previous organization, where it's like you're walking across the street just to get punched in the face. Like, you like that's just stupid. Like, like that's not a battle you should really be fighting. And so I guess in another analogy is like there was a conversation we had in our previous organization. I think we talked about it in another episode about like metrics and stuff like that. And there's sometimes where like I just don't fucking care. Like I care a lot about which metrics like I put in front of like certain key decision makers, but like this was like to investors who they're not going to fucking change anything. Yeah. Like I could put the coolest metric on earth in front of them and their eyes would just glaze over and they'd be like, that looks about right. Here's the check.
Our eyes. Out to all the VCs and investment banks who listen to the pod.
Exactly. Yeah, all of them. But like
for the dozens, for the dozens of like, VCs.
So that was like, okay, fine, fucking give them TRI. I don't care. Like give them that. I'm gonna spend my time and energy over here on this thing that I think is much more valuable and impactful. And so like I'm curious, like, A, what do you guys think of that? And B, if that's the case, where should people be spending their time and focus? Where are the leverage points?
Man, I don't think that it's that subversive a lot of the time, right? Like I think it's just exposure to something different. And if all you've ever seen in your career is people talking about zero harm and TRIR and
all incidents are preventable. And you're the person looking at the person. You're looking at the person responsible for your safety.
Yeah, we need one of those. I'll stop putting bans.
Your mom's responsible for my safety.
I just think, for a lot of folks, it's not that they're not open to. They just have never had the opportunity, right? And sometimes it takes a little bit to go. Dude, sit down. You want to You want to just see something different? Let's hold on. That's maybe don't say it that way. You want to do you like movies about gladiators?
Check this out.
You guys want some candy?
But look, I think most to the fuck safety, make money conversation. I don't think most leaders are just like, fuck off, dude. I'm just in love with this. Like they're really not spending that much time thinking about the how. To Dave's point, right? Like, let's not murder people. Cool. Do you have good ideas? Even better. Do they work? I'd kind of like to see a little something that shows me that they do before we go nuts, and that's fair.
I think the thing that you can talk to your organization about is unintended consequences, and sort of be quite matter of fact. So, obviously zero, the unintended consequences is like, well, we can't have anything go wrong. So therefore, every time something does go wrong, it's bad. And therefore there's someone to blame and someone's done the wrong thing. And so it's more about the unintended consequences of that. Even if companies say, oh, it's an aspiration and we have to have that as an aspiration. It's like, well, yeah, but understand in your organization what the unintended consequences of that in terms of leadership behavior and how that flows down to workforce culture. And I think that's the big thing that I'd be talking to my organization about it. Not saying zero harm is, needs to go. Although, you can try that on if you like. Just sort of say like, let's just understand what's going on in our organization as a result of beating this drum.
You don't want it to go because our number one fan is
to get that out.
Psyched with how much you love it. Our number one fan, by the way, I invited to.
Well,
number one and
I like
2 fans.
I can't like if you think it's okay to hurt people, like I guess I don't see how we can still be friends.
Oh, shit got real all of a sudden.
All right, well, podcast is over.
A little bit of role play for our listeners on YouTube or watchers.
Wow.
Do you watch on a podcast and listen on YouTube? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sort of shows that
didn't show up to the last episode.
No.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm a little sad. I wouldn't call them tier 1s. A couple tier maybe. Are they 3s, Dave?
Oh, fuck no. Fuck no. Oh. There's a whole parallel tier universe for those fucks.
Well, none of them showed up. Look, we were trying to extend the olive branch, as it were. Got nothing, man.
Yeah, that's right.
So to
what
our
are you gonna do? That's shocking.
They are set in their ways. They do not want to hear punk rock safety.
By the way, how's that? How's that?
Yeah.
How's that? Super positive comment we got, Ben, on our YouTube channel from that listener.
Oh, fuck me. So good.
Yeah.
The Wolves in Wolves clothing. Just check it out. The Wolves in Wolves clothing episode.
Yeah. Just if you don't watch it, and I don't blame you, go to YouTube, check out, what is that, 29 or something like that?
I remember the title.
Wolves in Wolves clothing. It's a real letdown for one guy.
Some poor fuckers cruising through YouTube looking for NoFX stuff and starts listening to the Punk Rock Safety Podcast and feels the need to share his disappointment in the comments with what
paid no attention to where he fucking was. Just I hate this. I thought, man, this is great.
And because
I think I replied like, wait till you listen to the other episode.
The comment about the mindless dribble, he clearly just listened to the first 7 or 8 minutes.
I would have said thanks for listening.
Always fun. Well, hop on whenever you feel like it.
Always a fan of a listener.
But I think like I mentioned about the unintended consequences, I think you need to get really quickly to a how conversation in your organization. This whole why piece, start with why. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, but let's quickly move to sort of like a how we're going to get there, how we're currently doing it, how we could do it better. And I think the success that I've sort of seen with organizations with some of these newer approaches is probably more down that way of actually just adjusting the way that they're managing as opposed to changing principles. I mean, there's still an organization in Australia that's quite innovative and working with lots of these ideas and still has a very clear zero harm policy. All of their safety professionals are actually called zero harm managers and zero harm advisors throughout their entire safety organization. Like literally, like it's just all over the walls and everywhere. And they've been sort of at the front of things, like you'd say safety differently and things like that for like almost a decade. And still doing some stuff with them just now. And so it just doesn't mean anything negative in their organization.
But I don't think it eliminates that why part either. I think it's just changing the scope of why, right? Because if it's just a discussion of how, I think what happens is people look at it and go, well, we're already doing it, right? Like we're already doing it. Why should I now add more shit or change it? And so I think that's that sort of smaller scope why, not like philosophical principles why necessarily, but to say, Dave, you said earlier, right? Like, how do you think you're not happy with where we are right now? Because I keep hearing about it, right? We want zero. We don't want to hurt people. How do you think we would do that better? And although you're asking how, you're really getting to the why it matters, right?
Yeah.
It matters because we're not happy with where we are today. It matters because we've got pressure from XYZ. So I think you do have to answer a sort of small scale why before you dive into the
But I think
what we're doing different.
I'm curious about you guys. So
I'm curious about us too.
Do you guys see the objective to help our organizations have less harm as a result of their operations? Like, is that something that you guys see as part of the goal and the role? Like, if our organization, we are there, or, we're working with our organization towards less harm as a result of operations.
If we're not, I would say if there's not some sort of reduction of risk because we're meaningfully changing what we do in the organization, then it's a pretty weird fucking thing to do to hire safety folks. I mean, we've talked before, although Ron doesn't think safety people should have jobs.
Right at episode 2, that's when we lost all our listeners. We were like, we had 1,000 listeners after episode 1, and then Ron turned around in episode 2.
God, I hope not. Have you heard episode 1?
Why do we even have fucking safety people? And now we've got 7, right? We've had this thing for a fucking year, and we haven't recovered from Ron's.
That's the effect I have.
It was Ron's last real effort.
Way to alienate your target audience.
I tried.
But I think at that point, right, it was sort of making sense of risk and kind of that big picture view of I don't know, a holistic view of where risk lives and what we might think about.
But I like I like your comment there. So maybe overall less harm is a bit abstract because there's got to be a denominator. But your point about risk and better work design that is aiming to lower the risk for people working in that environment.
Well, if we're doing all this work and we still murder the same number of
But it's interesting how much we skirt around this, right? Because I was sort of talking with, several of the tier ones over the years.
Did they let you talk to them?
One-on-one. Not like at some conference where I'm there and they're there, like Ben, how you kind of move around and go, there's 1,000. Look at me. I'm surprised you haven't name dropped all the people that you hung out with last week.
I don't. It might be good for me. It's not good for them.
I've seen this photo of a whole bunch of like people, high tiered people, and Ben just like in the corner, like just dropping his face in.
Forrest Gump there, just working his way.
But if you talk to say Eric Holnagel, he'll say our goal is to make work go right. Because if more things are going right, they can't go wrong and hurt people at the same time. And even Decker and Woods. Woods talks about proactive safety being about updating your model of risk and facilitating change and stuff like that before people get harmed. Like it's like in the fucking tagline for proactive safety. So I think there's this whole I don't know. I mean, zero harm has a bad reputation, but I think opposing it is less it's less
also a bad reputation
sensible than just going, actually, look, we are aligned on our goal overall to try to do what we can to lower the risk and
Lover of zero.
therefore
lover of zero.
No, I mean, I honestly like.
Well,
no, you guys can fuck around all you want, and I don't think zero is ever attainable. But I think the overall harm reduction, risk reduction objective has to fucking hold true. Otherwise, I'm like, get the fuck out of the organization.
So weird waste of space. If we're
join the sales team like Ron does and just cruise around to investor meetings and fucking sales meetings and leave the work to the real men.
I do. This is what I do. Yes, that's my job description in a nutshell. No, I mean, and actually, Eric, I saw something from him recently that he actually said, no, the goal of safety is to reduce the number of injuries or incidents. I can't remember exact words, but that's what he added down in writing.
I can't remember the exact words either, but I think he said his favorite podcast was Punk Rock Safety.
I'm sure he said that.
Remember,
if he didn't say that, let him come on the podcast and deny it
and correct it. Yeah, if you didn't say it,
but no, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, where it gets fuzzy, and this is where people start to stumble, and I think they get it mixed up because I think you're right, Dave, and I think we should full-throated be able to say, yeah, we want less people to get hurt, killed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, full-throated.
Say it again.
Yeah. Not deep-throated.
Oh,
it's different. Like unequivocally be able to say like we want less people to get hurt or killed. Where it gets fuzzy is number one, like statistically being able to say, oh, I had this number last year and I have this number this year, therefore I'm better or worse. That's messy. But then also secondly, when we say zero harm according to whom and what kinds of harm? What?
You just did anyway.
Just touching the tips.
Yeah, we were doing that. Then
call that a sword
that
fight.
harmful to some people? Yes. That's a good analogy, actually.
It is harmful. Actually.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, because if in the process of trying to protect people, we're fucking dicks to them, and we disrespect them and create a really shitty workplace, that's harmful. And
that's sort of the unintended consequence part.
Exactly.
I think that Dave was talking about was, okay, cool, we're into the same idea, no murdering. Some of the things we're doing today,
pants in the office most of the time.
Most of the time, at least 60%.
That is shockingly not a ForgeWorks policy, however.
All most of the work's video conference, right? So it's all right.
Don't let Dave stand up.
Yeah. No, let me just reach over here.
All
right. But yeah, I think sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's okay to admit those things because I like the advantage of doing that also is you get away from the bullshit theoretical stuff, but also you show that, hey, we're all on the same team here. Like I'm going to present a dissenting view, but it's just a dissenting view on like how we're going to get there to the goal we all want to get to. Like if you just show yourself like, fuck you for having those stupid goals, you're hurting people with your belief systems. But you
which I'm sure is what our listener was talking about.
Which is why Ron is now
there are
a month
people
into a new
out
job.
there who say that shit. I don't think that's what the listener's doing, but like
no, I hope not.
Yeah.
I think it was a legitimate question from a place of frustration though, right? Of just saying, fuck man, I've tried to have these conversations and Dave, you've probably seen this too. You're working with an organization and, maybe the person that brings you in for some help is not the chairman of the board of directors or is not the CEO. And you sit down and they are happy to tell you, hey, I don't want to change any of these things. I'm happy with what they're doing now. It's a tough place to start, so I think that just sort of reiterating that point of we don't have to knock everything off their desk, tell them they're stupid, and start everything at once. Just, listen to Backstreet Boys for a while if you want to, dude. I
Start
don't know. We'll
humming the
play a
tune
Me
in the
First
car
and
on the
the
way to work.
That's right. We'll do
Very
me,
quickly, you'll
me
be
first
applying for
and the
jobs at DuPont.
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes does some covers. We'll start you with that. Um, I
But
yeah,
I think one of the things, the advantages we have, and this is the other part. So we've been talking about like trying to influence this or come at this problem through talking to people, right? Like and trying to convince them. The other thing, the leverage point we have here is that most of the how
violence,
that we've been is fucking violence. No,
violent.
no, most of the how, like of how we implement these things is often very ambiguous, super vague, and like people wouldn't necessarily know what it looks like if they saw it. Like if you're checking the boxes like on the stop DuPont stuff, if you do the cards, nobody gives a shit what you did. So like you can lever I've done this in organizations before where I've leveraged those kinds of things to go out and have better conversations. And yeah, we'll fill out the card and it looks all well and good. But basically you can go and do shit and you may not even have to talk to people about it. You can go and like try a learning teams or whatever sort of like initiative that you think would be really cool. If you can find space to do it, that you can just go fucking do it oftentimes, and people will be like, yeah, that's really cool that what you're doing in our DuPont program or whatever the fuck it is. um and then you can go and afterwards have that conversation like you were saying earlier, Ben, about like, hey, I'd like to try this thing and we've actually been doing it. Here's some of the results we've been getting. I'd like to do more of it. I'd like to expand it. Then you're not trying to convince them of this abstract. Now it's this thing you've actually went and
You
done.
got a little proof of concept, I think.
Yeah, I think that's super good advice. That the idea.
Finally.
Well, yeah, everyone gets lucky every now and then. Like, um,
He showed up, or the odds would go up.
he turned up before me today. Fuck.
It's a
Shit the bed.
conversion.
What happened, Ron? You shit the bed or what?
Yeah, finally woke up.
So getting all G'd up for game one, hey? Warriors today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so I think that idea of have a plan, right, is really good. And now you can go and actually execute against that plan and build some evidence and insight and information that gives greater weight to continuing that going forward. Or you can actually go to your stakeholders with the plan, right? Like just say, hey, look, this is how I think we can make more or faster progress. I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over the next 6 months. And make a good case for it. And leaders aren't fucking idiots, right? They can see a good idea when it smacks them in the face and just go, here's the plan, right? And get off and do it. And then over time, you might be able to, build more credibility and influence. And that's when it's a good opportunity to go back and say, look, I actually think this zero harm piece might be a bit of a handbrake on what we're doing here and what's working here. And a few organizations are moving away from it for these reasons. And here's an alternative that I think is going to be more engaging and motivating for our people and provide greater clarity and direction. And then it might just not even be a big deal to get the change. And make sure your plan is just not, I want to go, like you said, I want to go and do a learning team, right? That's not a fucking plan.
Well, and I think maybe the other mistake to avoid, or sometimes that folks make, is that plan is let me throw you these 6 books and a few articles I've been reading. You're arguing feelings with logic, and again, as you said, Dave,
and while you're reading them, go get vaccinated.
but leaders are, as you said, they're not stupid people.
And hand over your guns.
Yeah.
but being told, read all this material. Nobody likes when somebody walks in and is like, actually, the research says, like, it's not
Yeah,
fun.
dude.
It's
Come on,
it's a
man.
pain
Come
in the
on,
ass
man.
conversation.
Come on.
I read this article from from this guy, Dave Proven. He's written a lot of them. Just wanted to bring a compendium of his work.
There's this whole other podcast.
But yeah, but just be careful, right? That we're not over logicking our way into the plan either.
Well, and I think, a lot of times they'll come at it with that kind of logical perspective. People will, and they won't do what you were talking about, Dave, about like, here's the plan. I mean, the benefit of the plan is you're making their job easier. Whereas if you don't do that, if you just logic and be like, hey, we should just agree with each other and then try to find a way to implement it, you're giving them work.
I think it's
like, you're giving them more work to do. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. But what you said there, Ben, I'm really, so the belief and logic, I actually think it's the other way around. I think the lead. Well, I believe that I'm right. But I think
and that's really what counts.
I think we're coming at it with some very ideological beliefs about, new view safety and that. And the leaders are sitting there super fucking logical, which is safety important, accident bad, no accidents. Like they're like. They're like,
I don't.
Zero harm is not. It's not this impassioned belief. Zero harm is a super logical business position to hold.
Can
right?
that be a shirt?
What?
Safety good.
Safety important. Accident bad.
That should be there.
I think we're in violent agreement here.
Sorry, I just always had in my head that this we're trying to fight an ideal. We're not fight. We're trying to debate an ideological belief, but I think zero harm is a organizational logic that's just deeply sensible to the people who hold it, right?
But you don't think if I roll in with a book which espouses, let's say, 5 principles, I mean that doesn't solve a leader's need for a logical solution. It's ideology.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think we're this whole evangelistic kind of religious war that people are trying to fight.
We agree. I said you were wrong, but I didn't mean it. No, I think
I just roll in and be so. Yeah, I think we shouldn't pretend. I think we shouldn't pretend that we're arriving on horseback full of logic about new view, and we're fighting these beliefs about zero harm. We're actually descending down the mountain with a fucking stone tablet and trying to tell leaders that there's a different way to look at life.
I just think the answer to this one,
they go me hungry, eat other people.
The sound bite here is accident bad, safety good.
Safety important, accident bad.
Safety important, accident
money
bad.
Better, bitch.
Money better, bitch. MBB.
Make money.
That's it. We solved it.
I'm so stunned with the brilliance of that statement that it's like really hard to know where to go next.
All right.
Is that it?
Did we do it? Oh, yeah. What's the punchline here? We can tell this guy to go do.
You hear that a lot, don't you, Ron?
Yeah, well, fuck. Like,
is that it?
Did we do it?
That's all of it?
Did we do it? Did we do it?
You done?
Is that it?
What happened? What is he supposed to go do?
What's he supposed to go?
Shout DuPont, shit on the desk, and then run out.
No, I think just come up with a better plan for what you're doing in your organization. Figure out a way to start making progress on it. Show results and influence your leaders over time.
And don't overthink that core goal, right? Of safety important.
Yeah, don't overthink it. Don't be fucking lazy. Get out and do something.
Well, and I guess the one like encouragement to give people and all this and anybody who's struggling is we're talking about a complex system. Complex systems, small things can have massive effects, and most of the small things.
No, they can't. Spoken like someone with a small thing.
Yeah,
I can't even top that. You just just move on.
And there it is. That's 30.
Your point there about bias for action, right? And doing things, and we talk about experimentation. Like the very next time you have an incident and you're on an investigation, or Ron, I think what you did in your last organization was, I've got to go do audits, but no one's telling me how I have to do those audits. right? So like there's opportunities every day to start putting into place different ways of doing things, different ways of talking about things, and don't let this opposing belief at the top of the organization stop you from getting on and doing stuff that's better.
Don't let the man get you down.
Don't be oppressed. Fight to fucking storm the Capitol, man. Don't take any shit.
Yeah.
Just like the dead Kennedys.
Form a militia. Do what you need to do.
I think that we've solved it, and then we had a bonus round at the end. So you're welcome. All 7.
Punk Rock Safety
Merch.com.
Ben needs to lose more money.
Do not order anything. The tariffs are going to murder me. Print your own
particularly to all our Chinese listeners. All right, I'm out.